while the Office of the President indicates an outstanding balance of $1,851,528 the Nehemiah Group states that only $155,616.23 remains unpaid, a difference of nearly $1.7 million. These inconsistencies point to significant lapses in contract and payment reconciliation processes, and they call for immediate investigation to uphold transparency and fiscal responsibility. Procurement irregularities and discrepancies in contract sums in relation to Sir David Ajayi and Associates. The audit report also uncovers serious procurement irregularities in the engagement of Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited as lead consultant for the National Cathedral Project. Between 26 September 2018 and 7 June 2019, a total of 15,738,750 Ghana cedis was paid to Sir David Ajayi well before the formal agreement was signed on 20th August 2019. This payment also preceded the approval of the contract sum of 5,850,000 Ghana cedis by the Public Procurement Authority, raising red flags about non-compliance with established procurement protocols. Furthermore, the appointment of the firm was done through sole sourcing, a method that demands strict justification and prior approval under Ghana's procurement laws. These actions represent a clear breach of procurement procedures as outlined in Section 41 and 2 of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663, as amended by Act 914, and raise serious concerns about transparency, value for money, and adherence to due process in the award and execution of public contracts. Further concerns arise from the audit findings regarding the contract with Sir David Ajayi and Associates Limited for the National Cathedral Project. First, portions of the total contract value, specifically the mobilization fee of $1.5 million and a use aftercare component of $1,187,500 were included in the payment schedule, but lack any detailed breakdown or explanation for their composition, raising questions about the basis and justification for these sums. Moreover, there is a discrepancy of $861,000 in the mobilization fee figures. While the Office of the President confirms a payment of only $89,000, a letter from Sir David Ajayi and Associates dated 13th August 2020 states that $950,000 was received as mobilization, a gap that requires urgent clarification. Additionally, David Ajayi is reported to have undertaken extra work estimated at $12,430,221 under variation orders 1, 2, and 3, covering major design changes, including a 350-seater restaurant, a museum extension, and a Bible museum. However, these additions were not captured in the original signed contract, indicating a failure to formally regularize significant scope changes before making payments regarding these additions. Questionable payments and overlapping roles involving the Nehemiah Group and Associates. The audit exposes troubling findings concerning the contractual relationship with the Nehemiah Group, represented by Mr. Karisamis and other associated entities. The agreement between the National Cathedral Secretariat and the Nehemiah Group, initially signed for a one-year term beginning 9th March 2020, was subject to renewal on agreements of the parties. The renewal was never done. Despite this, payments of the Nehemiah Group continued, amounting to $523,521, a clear violation of contract governance protocols. Furthermore, the Nehemiah Group confirmed receiving $110,630.56 for organizing fundraising events in Houston and New York, all in the United States, purportedly aimed at securing support from external investors. Strangely, these events yielded no tangible results in terms of donations or investment, raising serious concerns about the prudence of this expenditure and the absence of performance-based accountability. Even more troubling is the overlap in responsibilities and associated costs between the Nehemiah Group and Cubic Maltby, a subcontractor. Although the Nehemiah Group was assigned coordination and oversight roles during phase 1 of the project, Cubic Maltby was separately contracted for the same project management and coordination services at a cost of $592,500. This figure represents approximately 87% of the total $675,000 paid to the Nehemiah Group over the same period, indicating a clear case of paying two entities for the same work where it was unclear which of them was actually doing the work and which was taking government money for free. This apparent lack of clarity and delineation of responsibilities reflects poorly on project oversight and resource management. Additionally, reimbursable expenses amounting to $24,498.17 were paid to the Nehemiah Group for items completely unrelated to construction oversight. These include costs that fall outside the intended scope of their engagement, further compounding concerns over inefficiency, a lack of accountability, and the effective use of public resources on this project. Unsubstantiated loan transaction with JNS Talent Center Limited. The audit report also highlights a deeply concerning financial transaction involving JNS Talent Center Limited, a company owned by Reverend Kusi Boating, a member of the National Cathedral Board of Trustees. A letter dated 26 August 2021 from the Executive Director of the National Cathedral Secretariat requested a loan of 2.6 million Ghana cedis from JNS Talent Center. However, no loan agreement was cited to establish the terms, conditions, interest rates, or repayment obligations of the facility. Despite this glaring omission, the amount was subsequently repaid to JNS Talent Center Limited using project funds. The absence of a formal agreement raises serious red flags regarding transparency, due diligence, and potential conflict of interest. Let me turn attention to irregularities in donation records, documentation, and internal controls. The audit report was also, the audit report has also revealed worrying administrative and financial irregularities surrounding donations, documentation, and internal governance at the National Cathedral Secretariat. Notably, a total of 38,294,693 Ghana cedis in mobile money transactions remain unreconciled due to failed or unsuccessful transfers. These transactions could not be validated with any external party, casting significant doubts on the reliability of reported donation figures and the integrity of the donation management system. Furthermore, inconsistencies were identified in the 2021 records of donations received through the short code and Momo Pay ID platforms. The trial balance showed a variance of 42,791 Ghana cedis for short code receipts and 72,944 Ghana cedis for Momo Pay ID receipts when compared to the corresponding donation schedules. Notably, no such records were made available for 2022 and 2023, raising questions about the continuity of record keeping and transparency. In addition, lapses in internal controls were identified. The oath of secrecy documents required of procurement committee members was neither signed nor dated, containing only the names of members, a clear deviation from standard corporate governance practices. Equally troubling is the failure of management to produce supporting documents for several transactions, including board secretary expenses, office costs, and accommodation for a symposium hosted by the Biblical Museum of Africa, out of a total of 949,847 Ghana cedis, an amount of 292,681 Ghana cedis remains unsupported. Unsupported expenditures and weak financial oversight in financial year 2022. The audit report for the 2022 financial year uncovers a troubling pattern of poor accounting practices, unsupported expenditures, and lapses in financial oversight at the National Cathedral Secretariat. A key example involves accommodation payments from Mr. Karisamis, who was lodged at the Movenpick Hotel from 16th to 28th February 2022 at a cost of 18,500 Ghana cedis. However, only 4,976 Ghana cedis was recorded in the books, with no documentation accounting for the remaining 13,524 Ghana cedis, which was reportedly a refund issued by the hotel but not traceable in the financial records. Additionally, a trip to the United States by Dr. Paul Opoku Mensah and Reverend Kusi Boateng cost a total of 28,433.60 Ghana cedis, drawn from the Fidelity USD account on 12 October 2022. Strangely, despite this prepayment, a separate approval of $20,504.95 for the same trip was later granted by the Chief of Staff on 18th October 2022, raising concerns about duplicated approvals and a lack of coordination in financial planning. Further issues include payments totaling $17,000 made under accountable interest without supporting documentation, covering hotel accommodation, which was $15,000, internal transportation of $1,000, and incidentals of another $1,000 for two unnamed officials.
Africa rich, we know before. Corruption just they make them so. Upon the gold and the diamond, the bucks and the oil, we still the beg for food. Now everything may fall apart. Politicians they lie without be fat. They go to fill them up.
It is some 26 minutes past the hour of 8. You're still tuned into the best breakfast show in all of the land. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. And you were just listening there to Government's Minister of Communications, Felix Kwache Ofosu. And he has disclosed that findings of the audit conducted by Deloitte reveals an unaccounted amount of some 4.9 billion Ghana cedis paid to the contractor, Sir David Ejay Associates, amongst a host, shall I say, a myriad, a plethora of other issues that you and I will be getting into this morning. And as always, we put together a panel to do justice to this topic. Let me say good morning and a very warm welcome to my first guest in the studio. And I've got Mr. Richard Suma, lead member, Movement for Change. Good morning.
Good morning, beautiful lady.
How are we doing, sir?
Great. It's a kind of a raining morning.
Yes.
So we have to struggle hard to get there.
I wonder whether the weather is trying to tell us something. The clouds are angry. The clouds are angry this morning.
Exactly, are they angry with?
We're going to find that out this morning.
I'm sure God is not happy with certain things that are happening in this country.
We'll be getting into that in due course. Good to see you. We'll also hopefully be connecting with Mr. Vitus Azim in due course. And he is the Executive Director, Ghana Integrity Initiative. And I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about some of these revelations that you and I have been privy to over the last few days. It sparked a lot of conversation. But before I come back in studio and engage Rich on these issues, let's take a look at some key issues as far as the National Cathedral is concerned. Now, for some time now, we've been putting the figure that we've spent towards the National Cathedral at some $58 million US. And fellow Ghanaians, I'm talking US dollars. not Ghanaian cedis. That's initially we said 58 million US dollars. Now, following that presser by Honorable Felix Kwatio, we now know that that number is in the region of some 97 million US dollars. I want you to ruminate on that figure. What could 97 million US dollars do for a country like Ghana? The possibilities are endless. Now, something that we haven't actually added to that figure, I don't believe, is the cost to the demolitions that happened on the site before the cathedral was actually initiated. And you'll know that there were private entities on the site, other significant institutions and structures on that site that were demolished and then relocated. And some of these private entities are still demanding money from us. Fellow Ghanaians, we still owe. I'll take you through that list very quickly. And if you're watching on Facebook, stay with me every step of the way. You had the Scholarship Secretariat that was located on that site. That's gone. Passport Office, gone. Judicial Training Institute, gone. You had Waterstone Realty Apartment Complex, gone. The residence of the Malian ambassador, well, that's gone. Residence of the deputy Shraj boss, gone. You've got officers of COMSYS, COMSYS, gone. Office of Asset, ACET, that's gone. There's a cost to all of this. These buildings no longer exist, and there is a financial cost to the buildings demolished, the resettlements that had to happen. But let's park that. Let's take a look at the board members of this national cathedral, and it's one that also has sparked a lot of conversation. What went into the constitution of this particular board? We'll take a look through and run through the members. You've got Dr. Paul Opoku-Mensah, Executive Director, Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, Chairman, Church of Pentecosts, and he served as the chairman. Then you've got Archbishop Charles Palmer Bako, and he's a Metropolitan Catholic Archbishop, and he was the Cape Coast Vice Chairman. All right, we'll run you through the rest of that list. Most Reverend Bishop J. Ofe Akrofi, Anglican Archbishop Emeritus, and he was a member of the board. Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, former moderator of the Presbyterian Church, also a member of that board. Then you've got Most Reverend T.K. Pratt, presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, also a member of the board. Then you had Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, presiding Archbishop and General Overseer of Action Chapel International, and he was a member. You'll recall that certain members actually resigned, some quicker than others, but some stayed on, some resigned. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, he resigned. He was a member of the board. Then you've got Reverend Dr. Joyce Aye, Executive Director, Salt and Light Ministries, a member. Bishop Doug Hayward Mills. Now, I don't recall if he was the first board member to have resigned, but he also resigned, I'd say, fairly early on in the process. And he's the presiding, let's take it back one step, presiding Bishop, Lighthouse Group of Churches. All right. Then you have Reverend Eastwood Anaba, former founder and president of Eastwood Anaba Ministries. He also resigned, and he was a member of the board. Then you've got Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, founder of Power Chapel Worldwide, a member and also the secretary of that board, and dare I say, maybe one of the more controversial members of this board, given what was unearthed by Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa some time past about alleged double identity. He also giving a soft loan, if you will, to government under the auspices of JNS Legal, JNS Talent Agency. That soft loan having been repaid back some 7 days later. Waters are a bit murky. We'll talk about that. Reverend Dr. Frimpong Manso, General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, also a member of the board of the National Cathedral. All right, so I've run you through the members. Let's take a look at this breakdown here. The dates are particularly important, and you also see there are figures attached to that, both in cedis and in US dollars. So 7th June 2019, what was happening? Payment of advance mobilization for consultant working on the design of the National Cathedral. Now, this date is instrumental because there was also some controversy surrounding Sir David Ajay and Associates and whether or not they had the requisite permits, if you will, to practice in Ghana. There are certain processes that one must go through to do this work in Ghana. We'll talk about that. How much was spent on that? Some 445,000 Ghana cedis. You see the dollar equivalent there on the side. 5th March 2021, payment of consultancy services in respect of the design of the National Cathedral. Some 80,525,461 and some 84 pesos there. 10th February 2021, payment of consultancy services of the design of the National Cathedral. The sum there is some 32,070,103 and some 2 pesos. And in total, you've got 113 million, some 40,564 cedis. All right, 29th October 2021, Government of Ghana contribution to the National Cathedral Secretariat to enable commencement of planned activities. And we have some over 142 million Ghana cedis expended on that particular exercise. 19th August 2021, additional Government of Ghana contribution to the National Cathedral Secretariat for the construction of the cathedral, or over 58 million Ghana cedis spent at that time. 31st March 2022, Government of Ghana contribution for the construction of the National Cathedral. Another 25 million Ghana cedis expended on that. You've got a grand total of some 539 million Ghana cedis. The dollar equivalent of that, 58 million US dollars. Again, you recall that's the figure that we initially were reporting had been expended, the grand total on the National Cathedral. Now let's talk about the disbursement of seed money, because whilst we were told that this was a personal pledge of former President Akufo-Addo, he had indicated that the contribution of the state would be minor, seed money and also the land to construct this particular National Cathedral on. But what exactly does that breakdown mean? Because there wasn't a figure put to that and there wasn't a cap, if you will. We were told some seed money would be given by the state and the land as well. So construction mobilization, you have Ribadi Limited, and they had an advanced payment of some 71 million plus Ghana cedis. You also have Ribadi Limited issuance of an LOA, some 58 million Ghana cedis plus, 58 million 336 and 336,000 plus. Then you've got final negotiations with general contractors, and I believe this is in Ghana cedis. The figures there are in Ghana cedis. All right, 11,767 Ghana cedis. Then you've got part payment to Ribadi Limited, some 25 million Ghana cedis. Then you have JNS Talent Center Limited, 2.6 million Ghana cedis. A total there of over 157 million Ghana cedis expended. All right. So what are the actions then following the audit findings? What did Honorable Felix Kwatro-Fosu tell us would be happening or has already happened? Now, the Secretariat, the National Cathedral Secretariat, has been dissolved, he says, from the 1st of May 2025. You'll recall that persons involved in the National Secretariat were still drawing a salary, and Honorable Felix Kwatro-Fosu says that on the last day of April, those monies that were disbursed stopped. We're also told that steps have been initiated to dissolve the board of trustees, and that involves some legal requirements. And so those processes will be initiated. There is that Deloitte audit reports that has now been made public, been made public. You can also check it out on 3news.com, that full report. And also we're told that there is to be a forensic audits report commissioned by the Auditor General to cover any uncovered areas. So we are caught up to speed. Let's come back into the studio and let me engage Richard on this particular issue. What were your initial reactions after finding out that in fact there are some more alleged infractions as far as the National Cathedral is concerned? 58 million now to 97 million plus, and that's without us adding some of the other costs, the buildings demolished and so on and so forth.
Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you, and thank you to your production team, and to say good morning to all your cherished listeners this morning. Well, I wasn't that surprised when I heard it, because, you know, this entire National Cathedral Project has been shredded in a lot of secrecy. And the government of the day, the erstwhile Nana Akufo-Addo administration, hasn't been forthcoming to tell us the actual figures that are associated with this project. And there have been a lot of outlandish activities that sincerely nobody will actually understand, because they were clearly absurd activities that really transpired prior to the construction of this National Cathedral. As we were listening, some of the places that were destroyed or demolished prior to the construction of the cathedral, judges' bungalows were actually also part of it.
Indeed.
Not only the Judicial Training Secretariat, the bungalows where the judges reside were actually also demolished. And there is no civilized jurisdiction in this world with a vast land at your disposal who go and pull down significant buildings of this caliber in order to construct a national cathedral to satisfy the whims and caprices of the sitting president. Because Ghana is, I just can't fathom how our thinking processes are. Because this country is full of challenges. The country is engulfed with poverty. There is joblessness everywhere. Children are learning under trees. Children are malnutrition. How do we call it? How do I even mention it? Is it malnutrition or malnutritional children?
Malnourished.
Malnourished children. Children who cannot even get proper feed. Parents are struggling. Aged are struggling. And if you look at the struggle of this country, and for us to think of constructing a national cathedral to say thank you to God, actually is a misplaced priority. So because, like I said, it was shredded in a lot of secrecy, I have not been surprised when I heard the increment from 58 million to 98 million dollars. And even with that, if you should go into it deeper and quantify all these projects that were demolished and add it to the cost, then we are escalating it to somewhere around 150 million dollars thereabout. So sincerely, I am not surprised.
Are you angry, Richard?
I am angry because when I look at the children and the frustration of the children, when I look at the fact that children are still schooling under trees, they are still learning with their bare stomachs on the floor, they are still sitting on blocks, and we don't have children hospital, we don't have any way of taking care of ourselves as a people, we can't even feed ourselves as a country. We are running with caps in arm, Burkina Faso, Togo, for basic commodities to even feed ourselves as a country. No civilized country behaves like this in the 21st century. So for us to go and throw $98 million in the name of building a cathedral for God, which God himself doesn't want any physical structure in this day and age.
God doesn't want a physical structure.
He doesn't want a physical structure. Since the coming of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, God said that Christ is everywhere. Christ is spirit. He lives in the heart of man. You don't even need to go to the mountaintop to go and hide in some corner. You say you are looking for God.
He's everywhere. You don't need to build a house for him.
You don't need to build the house of God is in the heart of man. The heart of man is what accommodates the spirit of God. So if you are delusional to think that God wants you to go and build a cathedral or go and build a physical structure in order for him to come and live there, then we are getting it all wrong. God doesn't require physical infrastructure. And you see, God is not a God who you can have children. You say God loves the children so much. So every civilized jurisdiction, the topmost priority of that country is the children, how to give them a solid foundation. And then the aged who have served you their entire life and gone on retirement and living miserable lives. Do you know the number of Ghanaians who have served as teachers, who have served as policemen, who have served as military men, who have served as public servants, who are living miserable lifestyles as we speak today because the country never has a plan for them? And their pension is so insufficient I cannot even take care of them for a month. So what kind of society are we? For us to build a cathedral, not even that we have built a cathedral, for us to say the cathedral cost us $98 million. A cathedral which is just at the inception stage of it, the starting point of the cathedral. We have not even built foundation. We just dug a hole. We have not even cast foundation for us to start laying blocks. And we have spent $98 million in the country of joblessness, in the country of insufficient jobs, insufficient food, insufficient health security. Everything is so absurd in this country. And for me to hear that such amount of money was wasted on a cathedral, I'm totally flabbergasted, like I'll say it in English. Totally against it. And I don't think it's the kind of country we want to bequeath to the next generation. Because you see, countries are built upon succession. America is over 200 years old history. Do you think it started from Donald Trump or Biden or Barack Obama? It started way back. And they handed it over to generation to generation to generation because the country had a foresight. They had a vision that will be self-sufficient, self-dependent. We need to become the most powerful country in the world. They worked towards it and have achieved it.
So you say a country like Ghana embarking on a project like this is simply what we call in our parlance overspeeding.
Overspeeding, outlandish, absurd, ridiculous, total nonsense.
Richard, we have to get you some cold water to drink this morning. I can see that this National Cathedral issue has riled you up. Now, let's look at it from this angle. The inception of this National Cathedral idea, we're told, it was a personal pledge. Then suddenly it grew wings and snowballed, became a whole different, entity where you and I's money became entangled in this project. Some of the things that we were told, some time passed by government officials in the last administration was that, well, if we put up this beautiful edifice, we'll be able to recoup some of those monies back because it will be the biggest cathedral in this part of the world. We would have a Bible museum. There was going to be a recreational center, and like the likes of Sagrada Familia in Barcelona and some of the cathedrals in Rome and some of the religious monuments, this was going to bring a lot of people to Ghana. How do you situate that reasoning with the amounts of money that have been spent? Is there any merit to that idea that this was going to be a very, extravagant monument that would in turn put money in our pockets?
Well, sincerely, from the inception, what were we told? We were told that President Nana Akufo-Addo, ex-President Nana Akufo-Addo, said he made a promise to his God that when given the opportunity to become the president of the country, he will construct a national cathedral to say, God, thank you for making me the president of the Republic of Ghana. Isn't it the case?
Indeed.
Were we told about the tourism factors and the economic factors and all other factors that are associated with the project? Were we told?
In fact, that came later on as the project unfolded.
That came because they were looking for justification as to why the state need to put in the state resources into the project. That's why they are looking for the justification. And most of these projects, this mushroom project, they are conduits for corruption. Because you see, when government took over, there are a lot of people that government needed to satisfy. And because they couldn't put all of them into strategic positions like board members, board chairmen, ministers, this and that, the president had to find a nice way of finding something for all his cohorts and cronies to participate in.
You are talking about a board that has revered men of God.
Forget about these revered men of God.
Touch not my anointed.
No, let me tell you, and I sit here, we are all anointed individuals. Are we not anointed? Do you need to wear a cassock before you be called an anointed individual? God anoints everybody. Read Psalm 23. He shall anoint all of us. He said the Spirit of God, he lies in everybody. He said in the last days, the Spirit of God will be poured upon all flesh. So God in this day and age is not discriminating and selective and say you are an apostle, you are a prophet. You and I sit here, we can equally become the carriers of the Spirit of Christ and become true representatives of him. So all these men of God, they should have advised the president that God says, take care of your people first. Take care of your house first. Even God said it in the Bible that when he makes you rich, you must take care of your household first before extending hands to others, or you don't know. So when you are a rich man and your family is living in poverty and you claim you are helping others, you are wasting your time. You will not even near the gates of heaven. Because he has made it clear that take care of your immediate household. So if you are abandoning your immediate household and doing some philanthropic work left, right, front, center, and your own house, their cousins, nephews, nieces, you don't pay attention to them, you think you are near the gates of heaven, you will not even be close to it anyway.
So Richard, for a project that was described as the priority of all priorities, really, if you look at the scale of things that we need, where would you place that? Let's say out of 100 items that this country needs, where would you have placed something?
The cathedral should be 100. It should be at the 100th position.
The last
of it, because I'm talking about civility, civilized group of people with plethora of problems. Joblessness. Are you not running to Burkina Faso for tomato? Do you know how much $1 million would have invested in tomato production in Ghana? Do you know? If you invest $1 million today, put group of people together into cooperatives and give them seedling, give them all the equipment to grow tomato. Do you know how many acres of tomato we can grow? Do you know the onions we can grow out of $1 million? Do you know the cocoa plantation we can do out of $1 million? Do you know the pineapple plantation we can do out of $1 million that will produce you or help you to grab a pineapple processing plant? You see, it is about scale of preference, priority list. If you look at the scale of preference of this country now, we don't have any. We don't have any. We are always running in circle and keep patting ourselves on the shoulder that we are doing well and always comparing ourselves with those who are not doing well. You forget to compare yourself with civilized jurisdiction, Europe, Asia. Look at the Asian tigers. Look at Singapore. Look at Malaysia. Look at all this group of people. Do you think they are sent there? They are individuals who are using their brains. But we live in Ghana and our brain has been placed under our feet. That is who we are. Our leader, their brain is actually under their leg.
Oh, Richard, this is scathing,
is it not? It is true because they are not thinking. Our leaders are just not thinking.
Richard, take a breather for me, a deep breath for me. Let me seek your thoughts on this. Now, we are told that from the inception there was a myriad of infractions. So you talk about PPA, lack of PPA approvals when it comes to the procurement processes, a lack of parliamentary oversight. We're told that monies that were taken out came from the consolidated funds. I mean, every step of the way, it seems as though the oversight was simply not there. And if you read that Deloitte report in full, I mean, at different instances and at different steps, the Secretariat simply couldn't provide the answers that the auditors were seeking. Just can't provide the reasons why certain monies were expended. Who do you put the blame on? On whose doorstep do you put the blame on for all of these infractions that we are being made privy to?
Oh, Nana Akufo-Addo, we over-pampered Nana Akufo-Addo actually. We over-pampered Nana Akufo-Addo as a president. And it was because of all these crooks who are called aged in this country, who were pampering him.
Bear with me, the crooks who are called aged.
Excuse me, let me withdraw the crooks aspect.
Indeed.
Some of these aged people who were pampering Nana Akufo-Addo, okay, who were claiming that he was the doyen of Ghanaian politics. He was the savior of Ghana. He was the one who was going to protect the public purse. Mahama was a waste. I remember this Professor Mante was shouting on the roof floor, Nyansafuanu because they were all blaming Mahama that Mahama was incompetent. Was that not the case? That Mahama was brainless. Was that not the case? So they whipped all of us up to believe that when we vote for Nana Akufo-Addo, he is the one with the magic wand to save this country. But what did we see? He sat back and allowed this useless expenditures to occur. He should have been the one to be checkmating, because he said he made a pledge to God. Isn't that the case? So if you made a pledge to God, it was his responsibility to checkmate and to understand that every penny that was being sent or is being spent is spent judiciously and spent on exactly what is supposed to be spent on. And there must also be a need for cost-benefit analysis to understand that what we are doing, will it be in the ultimate interest of all of us, or is going to cost the country some sufficient amount of money? But he didn't do any of these things. He allowed the status quo to remain the same. He allowed everything to flow just as it was flowing. And if you ask him for anything, he turned around to go and defend the entire project. So every blame must be laid on the doorstep of the former president Nana Akufo-Addo. He never did any good to this country. He actually gave a complete disservice to this country.
Now, Richard, I heard you also mention the board, some of the board members on the National Cathedral. Do you also put some blame on the board members?
Of course, because these are men who are supposed to be the true representatives of God. Isn't that the case? And is God not always looking? He said, God asked that who will want to build a house without first doing the cost of it? Is that not what is in the Bible? Who will want to build a house without actually knowing the cost of it? Doing what you call in quantity surveyors. They'll give you a comprehensive total cost and give you some oversight on it and say, the total cost is going to be 100 million Ghana cedis. But plus or minus, because of volatility of the dollar and price fluctuations and all these things, let us make it 120 million or 120,000 Ghana cedis. That is what we do. We call projection and proper planning towards building a project. But if these men of God are part of the board and they could not give us a comprehensive figure and to tell us that this is how much it expected us to cost to build a national cathedral, and this is the timeline, it's going to take us 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Nana Akufo-Addo said for 8 good years, and the project is still at the foundation level, at the foundation level.
That's right.
Not even at the footing level for 8 years. So I will blame those people who are also part of the board. They never gave any proper advice to the president. That is why I'm saying that men of integrity are men who follow conviction, not convenience. But all these men of God who were part of the board were following convenience instead of conviction. If they were following conviction, they should have told Nana Akufo-Addo in the face, straightforward, Nana, this project is going to cost this country $120 million, $150 million. Don't let anybody tell you that you can construct this cathedral at a lesser cost. But they failed to do that, my dear. So the blame must be placed on their doorstep. If I'm a CEO of a company,
right,
and the company is not doing well, who takes the blame? It is the board. Because when I have a plan, when I have a vision, when I have a strategy, I present it to the board. It is the board who must approve it and give me green light for execution. So if I don't consult the board and I act and I fail, it is the board who is supposed to take the blame. Because the board didn't do service to me as the CEO of the company. That is why we are saying, and now was the CEO, he appointed these men of God as board members of the secretariat. They are supposed to be playing advisory role to the CEO. And let the CEO know that what is going on is not going to be in our interest. What is going on will be in our interest. But they failed to do so. So at the end of the day, they must be part of the blame.
Certainly, Richard, and thank you for your thoughts on that. We'll go through some of the other infractions that were listed in this report, or at least put in the public also by Honorable Felix Kwaju Ofosu. But let's also engage on the phone lines right about now Mr. Vitus Azim. He's the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Mr. Azim, hello, good morning.
Good morning, former Executive Director.
Former Executive Director, beg your pardon. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
All right. We're talking about the infamous National Cathedral and some of the recent findings that have been catapulted into the spotlight. But my first question to you, Mr. Azim, is what do the audit findings reveal about systemic corruption in Ghana? And also, were you surprised by these latest additions?
No, I wasn't surprised by these findings. Because from the very beginning, some of us objected to this whole idea of building a national cathedral at state cost. they deceived us that it wasn't going to be built but funded by the state. At the end of the day, that was the situation. And there were already these allegations of corrupt deals in the media. So there was nothing surprising about that. The audit report has only come to confirm some of these things that were raised in the media and by various commentators. So that is the essence of the audit report.
Now, given the audit's evidence, or at least the findings that we now know, what would be your recommendation on restitution and prosecution of wrongdoers? Because we've talked at length about many of the issues, how much money has been wasted on this project. But when we think about the way forward, what are the key things that we should be thinking about and initiating to ensure that we put a stop to this wastage once and for all?
I think that the idea of the forensic audit is very important and it's welcome. It will help to identify this in more detail, the infractions, the individuals involved, the actual issues that were involved in these infractions, so as to prepare enough evidence for prosecution in the courts. We need the forensic evidence to support any serious prosecution in our courts.
Indeed. Now, we're told that, seemingly at every step of the way, there was much needed oversight that was overlooked. When it comes to even the constitution of the board, for example, no parliamentary oversight, no discussions in the House of Parliament, monies taken from the consolidated funds without prior parliamentary approval, and a plethora of oversight issues highlighted also in this report. How critical then would you say is civil society vigilance in complementing statutory oversight in mega projects such as this?
Civil society oversight, though not legal, not required by, they are not mandated by law, but it's very important to throw up the issues into the air for the appropriate institutions to take up what is missing. And that's why civil society's role comes in. Parliament has failed in a number of ways in ensuring that oversight. There's this item in the annual budget that has been there over the years, contingency votes.
That's right.
It's an illegal thing that has been brought into the budget, and it enables the ruling government to use it to undertake expenditures that have not been scientifically approved by Parliament. And I'm not talking about the contingency fund, which is provided by the Constitution.
Right.
But there's an additional item, constituency vote. I think in the last year's budget, it was 80 million cedis. And that's where ministers of finance can dip their hands into to meet unauthorized expenditures. And in this particular case, the monies were taken from that contingency vote for the National Cathedral. And so, why Parliament allowed that contingency vote to be in the budget over the years, they cannot be exonerated from that. Added to the fact that they have not asked the necessary questions when this project was ongoing. So Parliament seems to be lacking in their effective oversight over this whole project. Now, the other oversight, the president is the boss. He actually pledged to God that he will build this cathedral.
That's
so
right.
one would have expected that he would be very serious with monitoring how the monies are used, how the project is being implemented, so that if there's any diversion or deviation, he will take the people on. And of course, the Minister of Finance, but they had their personal interest in whatever was happening. Then we have the Board of Trustees.
That's right.
Unfortunately, they handpicked religious leaders, assuming that they are the angels in our society, and because the project was a religious project, they will take it more seriously and make sure that everything is done according to requirements. Unfortunately, they also failed us. So the oversight role played by various institutions have been found not to be adequate, and they can all be blamed for what the mess that we found ourselves in now.
And what about the everyday Ghanaian? How can ordinary citizens hold governments, past and present, to account after revelations like this?
Well, what you are doing now with me is what the ordinary Ghanaian can do. We don't have the political power, we don't have the legal power to actually force the government to do anything, except to talk about it. When it comes to the extreme, we can go out to the streets with placards demanding that government takes action on some of these things. Unfortunately, in this country, we have always politicized corruption. Once it's done by the ruling government, members of the ruling party will always counter whatever the genuine Ghanaians are talking about. And that is one of the problems that we've had in this country with the fight against corruption. And until we are able to move away from that, corruption will continue to eat away our limited resources.
Now, you talked about the Board of Trustees having some revered men and women of God, on the board. And, from where I sit, it appears that makes it very difficult for the everyday Ghanaian to critique the dealings of the board. How, do we navigate this conversation in a way that is, respectful to the religion? Because it seems as though we're dancing around the issues because of that particular aspect of the entire issue.
Yes, unfortunately, that's what politicians do. They knew that if they brought them in, they'll shut the mouths of ordinary Ghanaians. And we fell for it. You see, if your father or mother is doing the wrong thing, you should be able to tell your father or mother that this is not right. You are not going to speak about it in the public domain. You should find a way, a respectful way of pointing it out to your father or mother. In the same way, this should be the case with the religious leaders. And especially when somebody resigns. We have church leaders, laymen, parish council, all these people. Can't they go and tell let's say, the leaders that, please, we don't want you involved in this thing. Kindly withdraw. If you cannot bring about the change that you want in getting in there. Because we respect you, we don't want to say this in public, we want you to do this. We must be bold. I think that is there are two ways. The president and his people should not tie the hands of people by putting these people on board. Then we, the ordinary citizens, ordinary members of the various religious groups, should be bold enough to come to these people, not as individuals, but maybe as the various leadership groups in the churches.
Certainly. Now, beyond enforcement, what preventative measures can reduce some of the scandals that have rocked this nation in the last few years?
The legal and first preventative measure is the internal audit. Unfortunately, the internal audit is not independent of the executive. So even if they do any serious findings, they still have to pass it through the authorities, who can say, no, please, or we don't want this released. And then they are shut up. They will wait until maybe the end of the year for the Auditor General to now do his audit, which will not help because the irregularities have already taken place. So, then we have the Whistleblower Act, which should allow ordinary citizens to blow the whistle on some of these acts so that the appropriate institutions will take the necessary action. Unfortunately, Ghanaians are not taking advantage of the Whistleblower Act for various reasons. One, they are afraid that even if you report, the government may not take action on it.
Right.
Secondly, it it may be made public that you are the one, or the authority may get to know that you are the one who blew the whistle on them. And then you can be punished either directly or otherwise. There was a situation where investigating a case, and the lady came and said, please don't go ahead. What has happened to my father? I don't want to continue with the case. Spiritual sanctions too. So these are things that make the Whistleblower Act ineffective. Then, of course, the media is doing its part.
Right.
Bringing this into the public domain. So I think that there are various ways that we can do. If only the leadership of the country are willing to take them and act on them. But because they are usually involved or implicated in a way, they don't go anywhere.
Now, Mr. Azim, following the presser held by Honorable Felix Kwatio-Fosu on Friday, we were told of some action points that will be undertaken by government. We're told that the National Cathedral Secretariat has officially been dissolved. In fact, it was dissolved 1st May 2025. We're also told that steps are being initiated to dissolve the Board of Trustees. We now know the contents of the Deloitte audit report that has been made public. We're also told that there's going to be a forensic audit commissioned by Auditor General to cover any uncovered areas. In fact, we're told the processes are firmly in the pipeline. Are there any other actions that you think should be initiated as a matter of urgency in this issue?
All expenditures in relation to the National Cathedral should stop immediately. I even think that the dissolution of the Secretariat are delayed, because it should have been one of the things within the first member of the president coming into office, because the Secretariat was hosted in the presidency.
That's right.
And this was something that many people were talked about. So it should have been the first thing that it should have just dissolved. And also taking steps to dissolve the Board of Trustees. That has not been done, but at least now, better late than never. I think the next two steps are just the forensic audit and then proceeding to court after we've gathered the necessary evidence.
Now, when it comes to alternative uses of the National Cathedral site, many suggestions have been put forth. Government, via Honorable Felix Kwatio-Fosu, has indicated that it will not be used, or they haven't decided to use the site as a national cultural center. They say it was a proposal that was put forth to the 24-hour Secretariat. There have been some ideas that maybe a children's hospital could be put up on that site, and many other suggestions. What do you think the site should be used for?
Madam, I would want to plead that this should be the last question, because I'm driving. I've packed to talk to you, and there are passengers in my car.
Most certainly. This is my final question.
Yes, for me, I think that the government should take its hands off this. We have more important things to do with our money, our limited resources. And we have too many churches in this country, cathedrals and whatever. We don't need another cathedral. But if there's something that we can use that will help us to recover the cost of this in the future, like some of the suggestions about using it for some recreational center that we can generate funds, and I would go with that. Of course, the Children's Hospital, where the present Children's Hospital in Accra is located, is cramped.
Right.
It doesn't have no spaces to expand. So that is also a good possibility. But
Certainly.
I don't think that we should ever talk about going to build a National Cathedral at that sweet spot.
Right. Mr. Azim, very grateful for your time this morning. I know you have a busy one, but thank you for putting some more flesh on the bones on this issue. And you were listening there to Vitus Azim, former Executive Director, Ghana Integrity Initiative.
Who's unashamed of asserting my Christian faith as part of my political calling. It is this faith and this belief in God's power to transform difficult situations into beacons of hope that has animated my vision for me moving Ghana to a situation beyond aid and putting the country onto the road of self-reliance, sustained progress, and prosperity. Our march to a brighter future is underpinned by our firm attachment to a governance system that respects individual human rights and individual liberties, the rule of law, and the principles of democratic accountability. This faith is also the motivation for one of the major projects, which I have described as a priority of priorities, that we're undertaking in the country. This is the construction of the National Cathedral of Ghana, which first brought us to this venue 3 years ago in February 2019. The National Cathedral addresses a missing link in our nation's architecture by providing a formal space for the religious activities of the state. Designed by the iconic global Ghanaian architect, David Adjaye, who designed the National Museum of African American History and Culture here in Washington, D.C. The National Cathedral provides an interdenominational space for worship and will serve to insert God at the center of our nation-building efforts. We've integrated the Bible Museum and Biblical Garden as part of the project. Dubbed the Bible Museum of Africa and Biblical Gardens of Africa, they extend the National Cathedral Project, which will transform Ghana, over 70% of whose population are self-proclaimed Christians, into a major center of Christianity in Africa.
A major center of Christianity in Africa. Those were the dreams of former President Nana Akufo-Addo. Still in studio here with Richard Suma, lead member, Movement for Change. And just before that, we were speaking with Vitus Azim. Richard, you've also heard the thoughts of Vitus on this particular issue. He says that we shouldn't even think of continuing on in this project or with this project to build a national cathedral. What would the Movement for Change, for example, suggest to be done with the site in the state that it is at the moment?
Well, again, I have always maintained that the children are the future of this country. And we cannot afford not to have a major state-of-the-art children hospital. Now, the only children hospital we have in Ghana, if you should go there now in Accra, it's an eyesore. It's a complete eyesore. And there are children with severe deformities which are not doing of their parents. There are children with so much health implications which are not doing of their parents. Parents are not supposed to say because we don't have money we should not give birth. People have given birth. So we at the Movement for Change, or me, Richard, my personal opinion is that we should convert that National Cathedral Project into a first-class, major, state-of-the-art children hospital. That will have a recuperation center, will have a learning center, will have a proper accommodation for their parents, will have some for all manner of things, that it can become a major destination for health tourism across Africa.
So you say forget religious tourism, let's think about health tourism.
No religious person will come to Ghana to come and watch cathedral. Where is Rome? Rome is there, Europe is there. Nobody will fly from Europe to come to Ghana to come and watch cathedral. It's absurd, they won't do that. What has happened to the Marine Drive project? The Marine Drive project that is supposed to be a tourism booster, a major tourism driving activity, what has happened to it? Is it not in comatose? Nobody will come to Ghana because it's coming to see some Israel cooked food. You see, our leaders are reducing us to becoming like a bunch of jokers, and I don't want to be part of it. Our leaders in this country, they are reducing us to become a bunch of jokers in this country. And I, Richie Suma, I don't want to be part of those jokers in this country.
You say that we're a laughingstock.
We are becoming a complete laughingstock because we don't know what can easily become our cash cow. So we are there claiming that when we build a cathedral, like what Ken Oforiatta was saying, about 600,000 people coming to Ghana, spending about a minimum of $3,000 each, and then you quantify it. It is absurd. Total absurdity.
Now that these findings have been made public, dare I say, the Ghanaian people they're calling for blood. They want to see some action happening. Those who have caused us this much loss to be brought to book. What sort of confidence do you have in crime-fighting institutions to really bring any perpetrators to book as far as the National Cathedral is concerned?
Well, we are in this country of rob my bag, let me rob your bag kind of agenda. So I don't see anything coming from it. But I want to be kind of inclined to the fact that John Dramani Mahama, president in this second term, is more or less like his legacy term. For which reason, if he cracks the whip, he has nothing to lose. It will go in his interest, and generations upon generation will remember him forever. So this is the finest opportunity for JDM to go after them. That's why I'm in full support that secretariat and that board of trustees should have been scrapped from 8 January immediately he took over.
In fact, we're told by Honorable Felix Kwatro-Fosu, because of the legalities involved, that's why it's taken some time, but it's in the pipeline as we speak. So these revered men of God and women, soon that board is going to be no more.
And I hear them trying to fight back that they've not received any written official notice and blah, 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 blah. And why are they trying to, what have they done? They've been doing consultation with the ministers and local government ministers and so forth and so on. Let me tell you, all this thing about David Ajay taking, or there is some level of quid pro quo. You cannot give such a huge contract to David Ajay without taking a kickback. They gave him that contract because they have vested interest in it, so that when we give you $130 million to design this useless cathedral, we'll turn our back and come and take our percentage out of it. Simplicity.
All for the kickback.
All for the kickback. Complete quid pro quo. Because they wouldn't do this without knowing that there's something in it for them. How do you go and bring David Ajay? Why are you training children not to do architecture?
You say that we should have opened up the scope so that we could
There should be competitive tendering.
Competitive.
And you should also give opportunity to your students at Kwame Nkrumah Technical University to be able to design cathedral for you.
Richard.
Don't you have students? Now, why are they learning at Kumasi Technical? Why are they there?
Richard, if we say everything today, we won't be able to say anything tomorrow. We'll pause it here on the issues of the National Cathedral, but we're very grateful for your thoughts on that. You say that we have to take some strict measures to ensure that every single peswa is accounted for. The people of Ghana deserve that.
Of course.
Well, of course, this is an unfolding issue. Time check 20 after 9. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We do have other matters on the menu this morning. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere.
The minority leader was addressing delegates of the New Patriotic Party's National Delegates Conference at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium in Accra. He tasked the party to return to its founding values.
The lesson for us is simple. It is possible to rebuild, and leadership is empty without a united party. Like the BJP, we have known both power and opposition. We have faced criticism and internal differences. If we are to reclaim our position of leadership and trust, we must first reclaim the spirit of unity, discipline, and shared purpose that build this party.
The minority leader also urged individuals seeking to lead the party to ensure they do so whilst preserving the party's unity.
Yes, we have differences. Yes, we've made mistakes. But we must never forget, we are what we stand for and where we are going.
General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Justin Frimpong Kudia, also drummed home the need for the party to stay united ahead of the next general election in 2028.
Today marks the beginning of our quest, of our journey of recapturing power in 2028. We need to quickly do away with all our internal elections so that we will have enough time to unite as a party and prosecute the agenda of winning the elections in 2028.
Former Vice President and 2024 NPP presidential candidate Dr. Mahmoud Baumia also tasked leadership to crack the whip to ensure party unity. He was confident with that the party will return to form the next government in 2029.
An army that wants to win a battle must exercise discipline within its ranks. Too often, when we are yet to choose leaders, indiscipline, unacceptable language, and unpardonable behavior become the order of the day. This is why I call on all Kukrudites to stop internal attacks now.
Former Chief of Staff under President Akufo-Addo's tenure, Akosua Frema Osei-Opare, read a speech on his behalf.
Hope that the key steps we will undertake here will in whole or in part be a formidable effort towards restructuring, rebuilding, and reclaiming the reins of governance of our dear country.
The conference comes amid concerns by former President John, the first president to be produced by the MPP, last week expressed concern and expressed deep frustration over being sidelined by the party.
FM Sunrise.
Minutes at the top of the hour, 10 a.m. Here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.